have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
This effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to the C&J Unedited podcast, the podcast that is 100% live, 100% true, and 100% unedited. My name is James Hansen, and I am here today with Chrissy McNamara. Chrissy, I have to say, until 2022, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay healthy, and Chrissy, why don't you say it to end it off in the night?
Aww. Always remember to live your life 100% unedited.
Good night, guys.
Season 2.
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 Waiting for Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2, baby.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2 begins now.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Chrissy, we are finally back.
Hey, besties. Happy New Year.
For those of you guys don't know who we are, I guess we should put our little names at the bottom. You think we'd be more prepared for Season 2, but nope, we were wrong. I'm James Hansen, and this is Chrissy McNamara. And this is the CJ Unedited podcast. Chrissy, it's been 13 weeks. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's been a little bit of a weird start to the year. Not gonna lie to you, just work is hard. Home's been hard. This little girl dog I have is insane, but I'm excited to be back. This has kind of been like a staple in my week, just like a fun thing. So yeah, I'm doing all right.
Well, I'm trying to watch and trying to keep up with this technology, and it's not working for me like always. But I guess before we get back and get started, I guess the main question I got to ask is, what you drinking tonight?
I was ready. I saved my drink for this week. We got High Noons, guys. I haven't seen you all in a while. This is my new obsession. I think we drank it once in season 1 with Lucas and Hunter when they were here. But High Noons are life. Ever since I went to the Survivor finale party, the week after we ended, was sponsored by High Noon. I got really into them. It's like a White Claw just with actual vodka. It's delicious. And yeah, I get to work from home tomorrow. So what do you got?
I am drinking water because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking tonight.
I also have water.
I also have, we can't kick off the season without having a little sweet potato pie from Taco Bell. So, we're back. It's nice. We've missed all of you, except for, that one person. But it's okay. I mean,
not the one person. Wait.
Yeah, that one person. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. We love you all.
I was like, not the one person.
We love you all. We're excited to be back. This is our 2-week season premiere, which means we have 2 full weeks of the same topic. This week, we're going to be covering the wrongful conviction of Ryan Ferguson. And then next week, we're going to have the Difficult Discussions podcast on to talk about our criminal justice system and how it is not actually fair. And after tonight, you guys will know more about how it really affects people in our community. I mean, is there anything you'd like to say? Because, I mean, it's been a while since we've been here, and I know these people are waiting for us to kick off so we can start our show and start talking about our topic. But is there anything you want to say to everybody since it's been 13 weeks?
We missed you guys. Thank you to anybody watching. Thank you to Tiffany for filming the intro. Mitchell, Queen.
So we just got a comment that you sound like you're in a well.
What?
Go ahead and try hooking up your microphone.
That was what you were saying before. Like I'm in a well, like down, like under the ground.
Yes.
All right, let me go see if I can get Rob's mic if you just want to do the intro. I'll be back.
Guys, well, you know what? It's been 13 weeks. We think we should have everything hooked up. But while we're waiting for Chrissy, I'm just going to go over everything with us. Follow our Instagram at CJ Unedited Podcast. That's where you guys will get up-to-date information about things that we're doing. Little fun things like we did today with the Tiffany Mitchell opening. And, I mean, even if you're a fan and you follow us, we might shout you out on your birthday, so you never know. Follow our Linktree at Linktree/CJ Unedited. That's where you guys can find our merch shop and find out where you guys and see our merch shop, all the videos. It gives you guys a link to YouTube's so that way you guys can, always be here with us. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right down below, as that is something that will notify you guys when it is time to be on. Chrissy, you got your new mic? I told her that her mic was not sounding so good. And then
Okay, is there any
that sounds so much better.
Is there a difference?
There is a difference. You don't sound
all
like
right, we're using shout out Rob for the mic.
But now your computer is in the way. There you go. All right.
All these new equipment. Also, thank you people who bought merch. You got me new webcam. Am I looking better? Hopefully.
Looking better. We need to get you in some new lighting, so your lighting will be better too. But you know what? Quality over quantity is what I always say. So should we go ahead and start this story? Mainly because this is it's going to take a while because it's 20 pages worth of information. And I tried to cut stuff, but there's nothing you really can cut because it's all really important. So should I begin?
I'm ready. Strap in for the ride, guys, because it sounds like he put a lot of work into the research. So
I mean, I did. I feel like I did. I think I did. But yeah. So I got a lot of our information today from I got a lot of the information for this from 48 Hours. It was, I'm just trying to make sure I have all of my documentation up so that way I can make sure that I am presenting the best story I can. So give me 1 second. I'm making sure. All right. So I got a lot of information today from 48 Hours, The Lost Night, Dream Killer off of Netflix, Let's Go to Court, episode 146. You know,
Poo-poo butter.
They're one of my favorite podcasts, so I got stuff from them. The Crime Museum, Fox News, CBS News, ABC News, and then a majority of this comes from both The Dream Killer and a college, I guess, essay, or it was like their document assignment. It's called The Ryan Ferguson Case, an examination of a strange murder and conviction by Chris Hamby. So that's where I got a majority of all of my material. So let's kick it off. The screen's going to go black, guys, for dramatic effect.
If it was memory or a dream.
So I guess it's not working. So thank you, Chrissy, for that help. Whatever. I guess we'll just get rid of that. All right. So a murder, a dream, and 10 years gone in the blink of an eye. On October 31st, 2001, in Columbia, Missouri, it was a clear night with a full moon, with children out trick-or-treating and college students and locals at bars celebrating Halloween night way into the evening. It was approximately 2:20 a.m. on November 1st, 2001 at the Columbia Daily Tribune in Columbia, Missouri, when Shauna Ornt, a janitor, stepped out to have a smoke and saw two men standing at the car of sports editor Kent Heitholt. After realizing something might not be right, she went back in and grabbed the other janitor working that night, Jerry Trump. When they came back out, the two men were still hanging by the car. One of the men turned and looked at Shauna and said something like, someone is hurt out here, man. And they started to walk away from the Tribune through an alley from the scene. It was at this moment that Jerry and Shauna noticed the body of Kent lying by his car with a copious amount of blood around him. Jerry called 911, but when police arrived, they declared Kent dead. Heitholt had been struck on the head at least 11 times with a blunt object, but the cause of death was ruled to be strangulation, something they decided to keep out of the media. Police located two bloody pairs of footprints, fingerprints lifted from a car door, and a strand of hair in Kent's hands at the scene. Trump told police he was not able to see the men clearly. However, Ornt was able to help police create a composite sketch. Two, actually. A head-on composite and a profile composite. So, head-on, composite, or profile. Cool. And the police considered Ornt to be the sole witness to the crime. Ornt described the suspect as a white male, 20 to 21, 6 foot, medium to muscular build with blonde hair spiked in the front, no glasses, unknown facial hair with a light gray shirt. However, with all of this evidence, police were unable to find a suspect, and the murder of Kent Heitholt became a cold case. Ooh. What do you think so far?
So wait, how long did they work on it before it just went cold?
Not that long.
I was gonna say it sounds like they just. This isn't the first thing I've heard like this, where a case went cold like way before it should have gone cold.
Exactly. So this case remained closed for 2 years, to October of 2003. In October of 2003, the local media covered the story again to drum up new leads in the case. This is when Charles Erickson, who was a high school student in 2001 when the murder occurred, read about the case in the newspaper. Days went by and he started having dreams about the murder. Erickson described the dreams like flashes of memories. The more dreams he had, the more convinced he committed the murder. The reason why he was having these dreams is because he couldn't remember anything of where he had been or what he had done on the night of October 31st, 2001. Nova's deciding to mess with things, as always. So Charles knew that he had been out with his friend Ryan Ferguson that night. And even though both Ryan and Charles were only 17, they had spent most of their night at a club in downtown Columbia. Ryan's sister Kelly knew a bouncer at the club and he let them in and they bought drinks. Unlike Ryan, Charles was under the influence of Adderall and cocaine as well that evening. According to Charles and friends, at some point during the night, Charles blacked out. Now, for those who don't know what blacking out means, simply put, it means it's a period of alcohol-induced amnesia during which a person actively engages in behaviors like walking or talking, but doesn't remember doing so. Okay, so Chrissy, let's just break this down real quick, okay? Charles did not have ADD, so the Adderall was acting like an upper to him. Plus, mixed with cocaine and alcohol, Charles, on all accounts, was having a grand old time, which is why his brain said goodbye, but his body kept on going.
And they were 17.
They were 17.
So he's the same age as me. If this is 2001, he's 17. He's 37.
Yes. So
when, well, you're going to tell me what happened.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. As stated, he had no memories of that evening. Charles told Ryan of his concerns and the dreams he had been having, and he asked Ryan if they had any involvement in the murder, and Ryan assured him that they were not involved in the 2001 murder at all. Ryan told Charles that they had left the bar that night right after 1 a.m. And he took Charles home, and that was all that happened that night. Charles replied, "It's crazy that someone had been murdered just blocks from where we had been partying." Ryan, "Okay, it is crazy, but we didn't have anything to do with it." Despite this conversation with Ryan, Charles did not stop having the dreams. In November of 2003 is when things took a more dire turn. The Tribune released yet another article about the murder, but this time they contained the composite sketches that was given by Shauna. Charles was so convinced that this sketch looked like him that he became even more concerned. In January 2004, police received this anonymous 911 call.
Alright, 911? This is not emergency, but I got something I really need to fucking say.
Oh, okay.
I know something that went down 2 years ago that I have to fucking say.
Okay.
Alright, you know the reporter at the Tribune that was murdered and no one found out who it was?
Uh-huh.
I know what happened and I know the murderer.
It turned out to be that anonymous call was Charles himself. And he went on to tell them that him and Ryan were involved. Although the police did believe this was credible, they didn't take it seriously. Charles started telling friends about the dreams, and always after having drugs and drinking or doing both. They started out as vague recollections of the night, and then they became worse. He would tell people that he did something he regretted, and at least once he stated that he said he dreamed he was involved in Heidholt's murder. He eventually told a friend that he and Ryan had killed Heidholt. It was at 5 a.m. on March 10th, 2004, when Columbia police officer Mitch Baxley called Detective John Short at home with good news. There was a break in the murder case of Kent Heidholt police had been working on for the past 28 months. That night, friends called the Columbia police with reports that Charles said he was responsible. With that statement, police brought Charles in for questioning. Confronted with the incriminating statements made by his friends, Charles's response was, "I don't even remember it," according to Short's report of his initial interview with Erickson. The first in a series of sessions that spanned much of the day. Short asked Erickson to walk him through what he did remember from that night. And this is what happened. Now, I'm going to go back and forth between both of them, okay? So bear with me. Erickson told Short that he and Ferguson had been at By George, a nightclub a few blocks from the Tribune. They had run out of drinking money and decided to rob someone to get more money. Oh, I just went too far down. They ended up at the Tribune parking lot where Charles said he hit Kent Highholt with a wrench or some other tool from Ryan Ferguson's car. Charles at this point got sick, threw up, and sat down. He looked over to see Ryan strangling Highholt. He saw a cleaning lady and may have yelled out to her. Leaving the scene, he and Ferguson ran into an acquaintance named Dallas Mallory, who was driving by. Mallory stopped at the red light, and Charles told him they attacked someone. Charles and Ryan then went back to the club. And that's what he said. After Charles got done telling the story, Detective Short then went over and turned on a video camera and told him to tell the story again. Why wasn't the camera on the first time? Who knows?
This reminds me of, have you seen, I forget what it was called. It was on Netflix like years ago, like Making a Murder. I think that was called. And they like...
Okay. Hold on to that thought.
Okay.
Hold on to that thought. Okay. Charles started again, but when he got to the point where he said he vomited on the scene, Short said they didn't find any vomit at the scene. To which Charles said, well, okay, I must have thrown up on the way there. I know I threw up. I know I vomited. Charles said that he saw Ryan over Kent and began describing the attack. Highholt was on his back, and Ryan Ferguson was like on top of him. He was leaning forward and motioning as if he was choking someone with his hands. So, Short stopped him and said, let's talk about the strangulation. Short, he was strangled. We know what the guy got strangled with. That's the kind of thing I've been holding back from you. The way he was strangled was something that, like I said, was intentionally left out of the reports and the media. So it would be something only the police and murderer would know. Short, is it possible that you know what he was strangled with and you just didn't want to tell me? Charles, I think it was a shirt or something. Short, well, I know it wasn't a shirt. Charles, maybe a bungee cord or something from his car? I don't see why he'd have a rope in his car. Short, well, we know for a fact that that his belt was ripped off his pants and he was strangled with his belt. Are you okay over there? I can't hear you.
It's just the camera.
Oh.
You're good.
So they really held on to that that piece of evidence that they were holding back on for a really long time. Now, this on tape, Charles replies, really? A few seconds passed and Short said, so it's possible Ryan could have strangled this guy with his belt and you not know about it. Charles, the guy? The man's belt? His own belt? To which Short replied, yes. Does that ring a bell? Charles, not at all. At this point, Charles was incredulous. Short said, but you saw Ryan strangle him though. And that's when Charles said, I thought I did. I mean, I might not even know what I'm talking about now. Yeah. Okay. It was after this tape-recorded version of the interview was 50 minutes long, and at one point, Charles said, I'm making presumptions based on what I read in the newspaper. After this interview was short, 3 detectives videotaped Charles as they tried to recreate the route that he said he and Ferguson had taken on the night of the crime. So they decided to drive through Columbia in their car. At one point, Charles asked, can you tell me exactly where this happened? Yes, said Detective Jeff Nichols, who was in the car with them. He pointed out where Highholt's car had been parked at the Tribune, and Nichols asked Charles, which direction did you guys leave toward? To which Charles said, probably that direction, motioning west. But the bloody footprints left at the scene headed out toward the east. Detective Nichols told Charles this and asked if they might actually have gone east. It's possible, Charles said. When asked what else might have happened that night, Charles said they had gone back to the nightclub after the murder and stayed for at least an hour. Now, bars in Columbia, Missouri, and here where I live in Warrensburg, are required to close by 1 to 1:30 a.m., which was almost an hour before Heitholt was murdered.
Wait, weren't they in high school? How are they getting in a bar? I guess they had faith.
Because Ryan's sister knew the bouncer.
Okay, man, I did not see. I was not like bad in high school. I bet like all my students are in clubs right now. Like I'm.
So,
not if you are.
Side note. Okay, after this trip, they go back to the station, and Detective Nichols asks Charles to walk them through the murder again. Pretty much with the new information that they had fed him. Side note here, though. Experts believe that what Charles was doing that day when he was brought in is that he wanted to, what he wanted to have happen was to be like, these are the dreams that I'm having, and the police to pretty much be like, yeah, that doesn't match what happened at the scene. You're not involved. But that's clearly not what's happening here. So they restarted the interrogation with Charles. And was that me? Okay. All right, let's continue.
I was like, I looked to make sure it was me, but then I was like, I think I was muted. So
I went back to, I was like, was that me? All right.
I thought there was like ominous music started.
So when they restarted the interrogation, Charles said, like, I could just be sitting here fabricating all of this and not know it. I mean, you understand, like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't feel guilty about it. But it's just, I can't recollect. I mean, it's just a trip for me to have to sit here and try to look at something that happened that I read about and try to base what I remember off that, you know? It was at this point that Detective Nichols decided to do the whole, good cop, bad cop, but they really want to be the bad cop kind of thing. So Nichols said, let's just stop right there. Okay? Now, one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit here and listen to this kind of gibberish. Charles tried to cut him off, but Nichols continued. Now listen, I'm going to start talking and you're going to start listening. Nichols rolled his chair forward, sitting face to face with Charles, about like this close to his face, and said, now you better start thinking very clearly. We're going to go through everything step by step, and I don't want to hear, oh, all of a sudden I just think I may have fabricated all this. No, what I want to hear is exactly what Ryan told you, because that's what's going to keep you in a position to where you're not going to be the sole individual out here responsible for what happened to Ken. So they began the story again. They started the club. Whose idea was it to rob someone to get more drinking money? Nichols asked. It was Ryan's idea, to the best of my knowledge, Charles said. Nichols, I don't want to hear to the best of my knowledge. Whose idea was it? Charles answered, it was Ryan. Guys, this is how a false confession is made.
Not that. Oh my!
When detectives push someone in like this and they force feed them, that is how a false confession happens. Okay. So this continued on in a rapid firing question. They went through the whole night, and every time Charles said something that wasn't to Nichols' standards, he stopped him. After about 20 minutes later, at the end of their story, they ended the interview. Nichols turned off the camera and walked out of the room, leaving Charles alone. Alone in the interrogation room, Charles clasped his hand over his mouth and stared at the ground, knowing what he had just done. While this was going on, though, with Charles and Nichols, Detective Short turned his attention west to Kansas City, where I live, where police were starting their search for the man who, according to the confession Charles had just given, had both suggested the robbery and brought it to a violent end. They were looking for Ryan Ferguson. So, everything that I'm about to say in this little tidbit happens with Ryan, or everything that happens with Ryan in his interrogation takes place concurrently with what is happening with Charles. Okay. But before I get there, let's learn a little bit about Ryan Ferguson. Ryan William Ferguson was born in Australia, but his family had moved to Colombia when he was about a year old. His father worked as a real estate agent, and his mother was a reading specialist. Ryan had a middle-class, suburban childhood filled with travel and organized sports, according to his father. Okay, bye, Chrissy. Her dog is freaking out, so she's going to be back in just a second, so we're going to pause for just a second. Sorry, guys. This is what it's like to have pets, because Nova's freaking out over here on me. What is everyone's thoughts so far? Like, do you guys believe that what they did was right, that that Detective Short and Nichols were in the right state of mind by doing that to Charles? Or what do you guys believe so far? Like, let's drop some things in the comments. Let's see what you guys got. Yes. This is what I think. The cops were leading him into a false confession. False confessions happen all the time. So we just spoiler alert, something that the cops were in the wrong. That's what I believe that wholeheartedly. And we'll see more about everything. Nova knocked some things off. So Nova jumped on my iPad. I hope she's doing okay. They could close the case. I think they did it so they could close the case, but the case was already a cold case, so it shouldn't. I personally, in my opinion, don't believe that people should be false fed. If the cops know and the detectives know that the case is in the wrong, then they should most definitely, not be false leading people, because that's how innocent people get put into jail all the time. So okay, that makes more sense. They want a confession to close the case and take it off the books. Yes, I do believe that is true. They wanted a confession, and it didn't matter how they got that confession, as long as they got a confession to get it out. So, sorry, guys. I just messaged her to see where she's at, because okay, so when I was reading the documentary, and I will bring this up later too, with Chrissy when she gets back, because he went in on his own. I don't think they ever did give him the opportunity to ask for an attorney, because he went in on his own. So, yeah.
Sorry, she was like freaking out. I think she just had to pee because Rob's at the Flyers game.
She good? You good?
I hope she's good. I just put some peanut butter in the bowl and made it really cold, so that should take her a while.
Okay. So we were just talking about
just quick summary, I guess.
We were just talking about if We were talking about if the police were in the wrong for what they did with Charles.
Oh yeah, dude.
And my dad asked, did they offer him an attorney to have an attorney present? And I said, from what I believe, since he went on his own, they didn't offer him that.
Yeah, they probably like taking advantage of the fact that they didn't. I guess because he just went in there.
So where did you leave? Did I start talking about Ryan yet?
You were talking about his background, like how he was born in Australia and where his family were from.
I'm gonna restart from there.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
So Ryan William Ferguson was born in Australia, but his family had moved to Colombia when he was about a year old. His father worked as a real estate agent. That will be important later on. And his mother was a reading specialist. Ryan had a middle-class suburban childhood filled with travel and organized sports, according to Bill Ferguson, his father. Ryan and Charles met in junior high school. Charles's father was a lawyer who worked as a vice president for an insurance company, and his mother was a microbiologist at the university hospital. Ryan and Charles became close friends, but as high school wore on, they spent less and less time together. And like I said, the murder occurred while the two were juniors in high school. After graduation, Charles enrolled at Mulberry Community College in Columbia, and Ryan completed one trimester at Columbia College, then moved to Kansas City to attend Maple Woods Community College. It was on March 10th, 2004 at 12:30 p.m. that police arrested Ryan, who had never had any run-ins with the law or any history of criminal activity. At about 3 p.m., Short entered an interview room in Kansas City, the Kansas City Police Department, and confronted Ryan with Charles's statements. Ryan denied any involvement in the crime, and he told Short and other officers throughout the day that he was at Bayou George with Charles until the bar closed. Then he drove Charles home and went home himself. And it sounded as if Charles was making the whole thing up. Ryan's cell phone records supported this claim as well. Even with the new evidence, Ryan Ferguson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and robbery. Charles was charged with second-degree murder. It's funny that robbery was a motive, but all that was taken was Kent's wallet. The Kent's wallet was and it was wow. It's funny that robbery was the motive, as Kent's wallet and his car were left at the scene. The only things that were taken was his watch and his car keys. Short and Nichols, they were happy that they made 2 arrests in the 2-year unsolved Heitholt murder. Plus, this case was going to be an open and shut case. They had all that physical evidence. Oh yeah, none of it matched Ryan or Charles. Not the hair in Heitholt's hand, not the bloody shoe prints, not even the fingerprints. When none of the evidence supported that Ryan or Charles was the culprit, they decided to look for blood in Ryan's car. But none was found. So they decided to base their whole case off the confession from Charles. But now Charles was trying to recant the whole story, and they can't let that happen. So Charles wavered on his confession multiple times, but investigators convinced him that Ryan was talking, and Ryan was going to pin the whole event on Charles. So Charles took a deal. Plead guilty to second-degree murder, testify against Ryan in exchange for 25 years in jail. He took it. What do you have to say?
Wow. Friendship.
I mean,
man.
Yeah. So
you suck, Chuck.
So keep your mic on for this because I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
So immediately after Ryan's arrest, his legal team requested bond. What do you think his bond was set at?
I don't know. $250,000, $500,000, $1 million.
His bond was set at $20 million.
Holy Nikes! Wait,
The
is that what bond is? I don't know how much people's bonds. are. I
No,
guess
that
for
was
murder.
the highest bond at
Holy-
that time, and I believe still is, to have ever been set in the United States for one count of first-degree murder with
What?
no prior charges. And I will preface this here. There
That was
was
like $1 million.
remind me at the very end. Someone remember to remind me to come back to what Ryan has to say about that judge. So if someone remember that.
You said $20 million.
$20 million. You have to pay 10%.
For like a 17-year-old little white boy
Get out.
that didn't even like what?
To get out of jail, you have to pay 10% of 20 million, which is 200,000. Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah. So,
Oh my god. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
at this moment that Ryan's dad, Bill, made it his mission to help Ryan. He knew Ryan was innocent. Not only did he hire a big, fancy lawyer from Kansas City, who turned out to be a very crappy lawyer during the trial, he also made it his mission to learn everything about the case, including the 11 boxes of discovery, and even offering to be a paralegal for the case. So in this case, he made like this big map of like downtown Columbia, and it was labeled with where By George was and where the murder was taking place, and they made this to show that it wasn't possible. It wasn't possible for this to happen. However, Ryan's lawyer kept saying, "I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. Don't worry." By the time this trial took place, it had moved out of Columbia to a rural town called Troy, Missouri, which is about 45 minutes north of St. Louis, which worked better for the prosecution. So on October 14th, 2005, jury selection began. At this time, this is something that got me, that at this time there was a section in your jury summons, which was called an opt-out clause in Lincoln County, where Troy is located, where people who had been summoned could opt out of doing jury duty by paying $50 and doing 6 hours of community service. But since this case, that has changed. So during the jury selection, they had this conversation with jurors about presumption of innocence. You're innocent until proven guilty. One man said, "They don't just pick a person off the street, or at least an innocent person, so I'd have to believe there's a smidgen of guilt there."
Damn.
He became juror number 1. Yeah. After all this was done, they seated a jury, and the trial began with 8 men and 4 women. Okay? So the trial began, and Ryan's attorney is an idiot, for a lack of a better term.
Is an idiot.
He can't keep a thought straight. He presents exhibits that are mislabeled. And on the other hand, the prosecution did a good job of showing the defense's own troubles before the Ryan's lawyer could do it himself. The prosecutor, Ryan Crane, got up and looked at the jury and said, "We aren't going to present any physical evidence to you that's going to tie Ryan to the murder scene, because they don't have any."
They don't.
Yeah. We have eyewitnesses. They bring up Shauna Ornt, the only witness to see the suspect and hear him. Oh, I'm sorry. My dad said if it was 20 million and 10% required to get out on bail, that would be 2 million for bail. Yeah, they didn't have 2 million. Okay. This is what he said right here. It was 20 million and 10 million, 10% required to get out on bail.
Oh, yeah. Our math didn't math.
Yeah, math didn't math.
That's why I teach English.
So they brought up Shauna Ornt, the only witness to see the suspect and hear him. She's nervous and in almost tears. And Crane asked Shauna how she was doing, and all he asked was, Did you help the police make a composite sketch? She said yes. They didn't ask the very important question. Is the man you saw that night in the courtroom?
Don't they always say that?
Do you want to know why?
Except for this time. Because they just trying to be done with this. Ew.
You want to know why? Because the second when she started meeting with Crane, she told him that Ryan and Charles were not the guys. And she stated afterwards that during an interview, he intimidated her and called her a liar, like she was in trouble. So she showed up and took the stand, and did what she was told to do. Do you know what Ryan's attorney didn't ask? Is the man you saw that night in the courtroom today? Ryan's attorney also failed to ask that.
Was he hired by the cop? Did he?
He was hired by Ryan's dad.
Okay.
Okay. But now, had he asked that, she would have clearly said no, and then the case would have been over. When asked why Ryan's attorney stated it was a gamble and he didn't, when asked why, Ryan's attorney stated it was a gamble because he didn't know how she'd answered the question. Because if she had said yes, that's the man I saw, it would have been over. And he didn't want to risk that. So, prosecutor Crane then put up Jerry Trump on the stand. Which is funny because Jerry Trump had just gotten out of prison for child molestation.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're putting a bad guy up on the stand to talk about another person. Cool. Do you remember when I said he originally...
Wait, there's so much wrong with this.
Yep. Remember how I said he originally told the police he didn't get a good look or know anything about the guys? But when he got on the stand this time, his memories came back to him. And he says while he was in prison, his wife sent a letter. And in the envelope was an article. And it was folded in such a way that the first thing he saw were Ryan and Charles's face. Not the headline. He stated that when he saw the pictures, he knew immediately these were the men who killed Kent. Following Trump, Crane put on the star witness, Charles Erickson. Charles took the stand. And in contrast to his interrogation videos where he couldn't remember everything, Charles told a very different story. Coached, or trained, if you can say. He remembered everything that night, and everything he said matched the timeline. He now recalls Ryan putting Kent's belt around his neck and pulling until Kent died. He was asked by Crane, at one point you stated the memories came to you in a dream. Do you still believe that today? Charles calmly replied, no. It was no dream. We actually did this. Crane asked, why did you plead guilty? And Charles said, because I committed the crime, and so did Ryan.
Yo.
The defense, however, it was their time to shine. They had the videotape to disprove Charles's just sworn statement, and they played it. But it was so blurry, and the sound was horribly garbled, that it didn't come across to the jury in their favor. Till Bill Ferguson, this was the moment he knew they were fucked. His words, not mine. He even says it in the documentary. That video was supposed to be the moment that the jury realized that Charles was spoon-fed all this information. Even at one point during the defense, Ryan's lawyer was interrogating Charles, and he said, now, Mr. Ferguson. He called Charles Mr. Ferguson. The prosecution had to correct him by saying his name is Mr. Erickson. At another point in the trial, what? Go ahead.
What? No, that's crazy.
At another point in the trial, in a moment Ryan's family did not see coming, Ryan took the stand in his own defense.
Wow.
And now, what most people don't know, taking the stand in your defense is kind of like a Hail Mary. It was very clear, though, that, and you could tell in the documentary, that Ryan had not been prepared. Now, I want to state, if you haven't seen our previous video of him on The Amazing Race, Ryan is a very attractive looking man. He's very bro-like and very handsome. So, When he got up on the stand, he looked very smug. He was smiling at his family, and the prosecutor asked on cross, you described Charles as being very odd. Ryan smiled and said, yeah. Crane then, after catching his smile, is that funny? Ryan, no. Crane, it's a free country. You can laugh if you want to laugh. Ryan, I don't want to laugh. Ryan looked at Crane and stated, I never thought I would be arrested for a crime I didn't commit. Would you think you'd be arrested for a crime you didn't commit? Crane replied, I didn't commit one. Then, with the straightest face he had the whole time, he replied, neither did I. And after that statement, the gallery and spectators busted into cheers and clapping. The judge got so pissed that he had to shut everything down. All right, so let's just get this right, okay?
I want to watch this on film.
Let me break this down for you. Let me get straight with Ryan's age at this point, okay? When the crime happened, Ryan was 17. He was arrested at 19 and put into county jail because he been put on trial. The fourth day of this trial took place on his 21st birthday. 3 days after his 21st birthday, it took the jury about 5 hours to convict Ryan Ferguson. On the first vote, according to interviews with jurors, everyone voted guilty. At 9:42 p.m., the judge read the verdict. Guilty of murder of the second degree, guilty of robbery in the first degree. About 2 hours later, after hearing more testimony, the jury recommended sentences of 30 years for the murder charge and 10 years for the robbery charge, for a grand total of 40 years. So if you guys don't know what happens like after the verdict comes out, people can come up and like have testimony and like victim, like they can do victim impact statements, and family members of like the person who's on trial can come up and be like, this is why he shouldn't be sentenced for a long time. So that's why it took about 2 hours for them to finally come back with the verdict. But it was from that second on that Bill Ferguson changed gears. It was originally his mission to prove his son's innocence, to now trying to exonerate his son, which is very, very hard to do once the justice system has taken the full control. Pretty much once you're in, you're stuck unless you can get appeals. So Bill did everything he could. First and foremost, his job as a realtor gave him all the time to spend on focusing on Ryan, because when you sell a house, you have downtime to wait for your next clients. Ryan's family contacted the public defender for all of his appeals, and Bill started working through the prosecution's case himself to find inconsistencies. He went through every box that they had. What?
I'm just like
right.
taking it all in.
Bill started walking. So Bill started walking the crime scene over and over and over and over again. He even allowed others who wanted to join him to go on the walks with him. And most of the time, they went through the night with anyone who was willing to listen. He read all the police reports and files to the point where he knew it by heart. So much so that one day when he was in downtown Columbia at the intersection where Charles said he saw his friend Dallas Malroy, remember him, the one that was stopped at the stoplight? Charles told Dallas, they said, I just heard someone. Dallas Malroy was never called to testify in court, which is confusing, especially if someone ran up to you and confessed that they had killed someone. So, Bill is standing at this intersection, and he had a feeling that something wasn't right. So he just started looking around the intersection, and that's when he noticed a flashing yellow light. Dallas Mallory wouldn't have been stopped since that's a caution light and not a stoplight. So Bill went to talk to Dallas, and Dallas said he never saw Charles that night. but the police told him he was lying the same way they did to Charles. Dallas told them everything they wanted to hear, yet they never called him to testify. Following his meeting with Dallas, Bill set up a website for anyone who had tips. Even if they thought it was nothing, he wanted them to say something. Someone wrote in saying, "I have information that I think you might want to hear." So he decided to contact them. And it turns out the person who sent in the tip was none other than Shauna Ornt. It is in this meeting with Shauna that he learns that she told prosecutors that there was no way that Ryan was the guy she saw in the parking lot that night. She told them multiple times that they had the wrong guys. She told Bill that when they had someone confess, she believed that it was also a false confession. Shauna said that she felt intimidated by Prosecutor Crane and she hated his guts.
Yeah.
So after this meeting with Shauna, Bill is still working to tear apart this case. So to recap, he talked to Dallas Malroy. He wasn't there. Shauna Ornt. She said there was no way that person was Ryan that she saw tonight. That leaves the only other person besides Charles, who was a witness, Jerry Trump. The only person who saw the witness that night at the scene. So he remembered him hearing in the trial that Jerry's wife sent news articles to him in jail that contained the pictures of the boys, but not showing the headline. Bill at this point decided to track down Mrs. Trump to ask her some few questions.
Wait, Trump was the custodian, right?
One of the two custodians. He's also
he was also like a child.
Yes.
Predator?
Yes.
So at this point, he had been charged for that, and now he's in jail.
At this point, Jerry is now charged with as a sexual, like a child predator. So he has to mark that he's a predator.
Okay, now we're starting.
So, but him and Mrs. Trump, I don't think are together anymore. So
I hope she was
asking the same question. So he decided to do what's called a figure 8 question technique. It's asking the same questions multiple times in different ways, so that way if they answer the same, they're telling the truth. So he went and met her and told her he was following up on the Tribune case and had some questions. He identified himself as Mr. Ferguson, and he asked her his questions. And she said, "I know nothing about that night." He did the figure 8 questioning, and during the questioning, she stated that she never sent Jerry anything, not even in a newspaper, and she was shocked to hear that in court. At one point, she even went, "What did you say your name was again?" And he goes, "Bill Ferguson." And she goes, "Oh, I shouldn't be talking to you." And he's like, no, it's okay. Because at this point, the case is already over. So, it's now 2008. Okay? It's 2008 before they have a hearing where they can introduce new evidence for Ryan's appeal process. Shauna Ornt and every other witness comes in and states the same thing that they told Bill. But the state denies the appeal. It's around this time that Ryan began receiving letters in jail from a girl who I want to say is Micah Kane. And she tells him that she was watching an episode on TV and that there's this super lawyer that was on there. Now, if you ever have seen Making a Murderer, you may know this super lawyer. Her name is Kathleen Zellner. And she is known for being able to get a lot of exonerations, most of those who have been wrongfully convicted. After receiving this information from Micah, Ryan immediately called his dad and told him to look into Kathleen Zellner. And Bill did that very same night. He sent her an email that evening stating who he was and about his son's case and saying, "Are you able to help us?" She responded the next morning. In the email back, she stated that she knew about Ryan's case. In fact, she had watched a 48 hours documentary with her husband and wrote Ryan's name down. When she wrote his name down, she looked over at her husband and said, "If his family ever reaches out to me, I'm going to take his case pro bono."
Ooh.
And if you guys don't know what pro bono means on the house. She's doing it without having to get any money. So Bill invited her out to Columbia to walk the scene and to see what she thought. She was there the very next weekend. After visiting, she stated it was a miscarriage of justice and they had to get Ryan out of jail. So she took the case. And Bill has since stated that when you're represented by Kathleen Zellner, you are represented by Kathleen Zellner. She is there for you the whole time and no other case matters to her. She stated that everything that Bill had did prior to meeting her helped her out 1,000%. It made her job easier. When she needed a document, she goes, hey, I need this document. He found it and he grabbed it to her.
That's his dad, right?
Yeah, this is his dad.
Okay.
She even stated that one time she was like, hey, I need that testimony from Dallas Malroy. He goes, okay, well, it's in box 13. He knew exactly where everything was because of how long. She started to file a writ of habeas corpus based on new evidence and prosecutorial misconduct. So she put together a new appeal and she brought in new evidence. During this appeal, Shauna Ornt testified that during the case, she told the prosecutor Ryan was not the guy. Charles testified initially that he was solely responsible. When asked, and it testified that he was solely responsible during this new testimony. When asked why he was changing his story, he stated that he can't live with the knowledge that I cost someone their life. Because of what I said. Things happened much differently than I previously stated, Erickson said. His testimony at Ferguson's trial was a lie. He said. The truth was that he alone had murdered and robbed Heitholt while Ferguson tried to stop him. I did not tell Ryan what I was going to do, he said. He had no idea that I would act in such an aggressive manner. He could not stop me, though. He tried at the end. In the documentary, Kathleen states that it was upsetting to see him testify because it still did not match the evidence, and he was still convinced that he had killed him and took all the blame. Jerry Trump then took the stand again and stated that he lied under oath. So let's just put it this way. Every person so far in this case has perjured themselves under oath. Charles, Jerry, the prosecutor. The only person who didn't perjure themselves was Shauna because all she said was that she did a composite sketch. He stated in this new courtroom that he saw the article for the very first time in Prosecutor Crane's office. He felt like he had to state that Ryan and Charles were the people who killed Heitholt because of everything that was happening to him. He was afraid he would go back to jail for the child molestation issues. During testifying, Jerry broke down into tears, and Kathleen asked, "Are you doing this today with the hope of getting something in return for this testimony?" And Jerry said yes. She asked, "What are you hoping to get?" And he pointed at Ryan and he said, I want Ryan's forgiveness." And in this point in the documentary, when he says that, you can see Ryan put his hand on his face and just try to hold back from busting up his own tears and emotions. So ultimately, that judge denied the appeal on the basis that none of the new witness or testimony or evidence was credible. Kathleen stated that when this judge came back with that, she wanted to go up to him and tell him that he was the worst judge that she had ever met and that he has no reason being a judge. But she decided, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I want to state at this point that Prosecutor Kevin Crane, at this point in the case, is now a judge for the state of Missouri. Yeah. So Kathleen and her team moved this case to the Western Missouri District Court of Appeals. So it goes from the city level to the county level to the district level, and after the district level, it goes to the Supreme Court. By the time it gets heard here, it's 2012. Almost 10 years since Ryan had been put in jail. Remember, he'd been put in jail in 2004. Okay? When Kathleen presented the case to the Western Missouri Court of Appeals, it was the same case and testimony that they had just did in the lower court. This time, the Western Missouri District Court of Appeals overturned Ryan's conviction. His case was vacated on November 5th, 2013. And on that day, the Attorney General of Missouri stated they would not refile charges on Ryan Ferguson. On November 12th, 2013, Ryan Ferguson was released from prison after spending 9 years, 8 months, and 2 days behind bars for a crime he did not commit. As of today, Charles remains in prison, and Ryan is still fighting to exonerate Charles, stating, "There are more innocent people in prison, including Erickson. I know that he was used and manipulated, and I kind of feel sorry for the guy. He needs help, he needs support, and he does not belong in prison." Once out, Ryan filed a civil suit against everyone who was involved in the investigation. And after a case, the judge sided with Ryan and awarded Ryan $11 million. $1 million for every year he was in prison, and $1 million to cover his legal expenses. Following his release, he moved to Florida, because Missouri treated him like shit. So
Yeah,
I too would piece the hell out. I would leave. And he released a book that he had been writing since he was in prison.
Oh yeah.
So before he sent to jail, his father looked at him and said, "I know you're innocent, but while you're in there, and you're going to be in there for a while, I can't protect you. You have to do everything you can to make yourself stronger, faster, and smarter to survive." So he did just that and developed a workout routine. And that routine can be found in his book, Stronger, Faster. I just gave myself a paper cut with the book. Ow!
Not the plug and then like the
Stronger.
You're looking good on there.
Stronger, Faster, Smarter. The guide to your most powerful body.
Okay, Ryan, get it.
So remember how earlier I told you guys that how he thinks about the judge. So in the beginning of this book, he talks about his life and about how, and he talks about the case. And at one point, he claims, let me see if I can find it. It shouldn't be that hard. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. I should have had this highlighted, but I'm not highlighting this book.
So Charles didn't do it.
No.
Do you think the person's still out there?
Do
you think
I'm not done. I'm not done with this story yet. Hold on. I'm not done. Okay. So he says the case in point, the honorable, in quotation marks, honorable, Judge Ellen Roper chose to ignore the whole excessive bail shall not be required part of the Constitution and gave me one for $20 million, the largest of its kind. We sought accountability for what happened, what appeared to be an outright senseless and slightly biased decision, but found instead what would be the first of many indications that those within the justice system simply will not hold their colleagues responsible for their actions. In podcast, he calls her a disgrace as a judge and says that she should not have ever been a judge in real life. Pretty much, like he says that she was the worst. So many jurors after the fact have been interviewed. One juror who had not previously spoken publicly about his experience said in an interview that he was never convinced Ryan was guilty, but he didn't say so during deliberations. "I probably should have been the lone holdout," the juror said. "I don't know that he got a fair shake." He said that he was not sure why he voted guilty, even though in his mind it was a 50-50 decision. Maybe because all the other jurors seemed so sure Ferguson was guilty, he added, or maybe because it was late on a Friday and everyone seemed ready to go home. Still years after the trial, as jurors recalled those problems, 7 of the 8 jurors interviewed remained convinced of Ferguson's guilt, primarily because they had no other answer to the case's central question. Why would someone confess to a crime he did not commit?
Kay's bugging out again, sorry.
I know she is.
Oh, she's got a lot to say about this.
Yes, she does. So, guys, you guys can now catch Ryan on Amazing Race season 33, where he is racing the world with his best friend, Dusty Harris. Ryan Ferguson is now currently dating his girlfriend and soon-to-be wife, Bridget Mahoney. And Ryan and Bridget have been together for more than 2 years. You can follow him on Instagram under the username @lifeafter10. And you can check out his podcast called Prison Counts, wherever you listen to your podcast. So the one last thing I want to say about this case, and I did not include it in the testimonial section after he was arrested, after he was found guilty, because I decided that I think it'd be more powerful here. So this was the statement Ryan made right before he was sentenced to 40 years. He was the last one to make a statement. He states, "I really just wanted to say that today is a sad day because the justice system has failed, not only my family and I, but the Highholts and the community. It has failed because they're sending an innocent man to jail, because they're letting a horrible person run free without care. But someday the truth will come out and everyone will see that I'm innocent and I will be free. And that will be a great day, because on that day, the justice system will have finally done justice." And that is the story of the wrongful conviction of Ryan William Ferguson.
Good job. So wait,
the case is still.
So now, Chuck or Charles, whatever.
Charles is still in jail.
Still in
But
jail.
Ryan is fighting to get him free.
Has he tried to recant his?
He's tried to do the appeal, but his appeals keep getting, because once you plead guilty, it's harder to get your appeals approved, because you pretty much confessed.
I feel like he just did that because he felt bad because he threw Ryan under the bus when Ryan didn't do it. So he just, I don't know. Do you think he did it?
I don't think they did it, because
I don't think he did.
Well, here's the thing, guys. You guys tested as well, because there's no
Keep looking at YouTube to see if anybody has any opinions, because I don't know.
So let me see if I can find this. So as of now, the case remains unsolved, and the police said that they have reopened the case.
Okay.
It's unsolved. What are you guys' views about this? Do you believe that this whole story is that I want to play?
Do you think it's Trump?
Hold on.
I don't know. He has a record.
But see, the thing is, so there's one person that I didn't mention in this story. And it's that the last person to see Kent Highholt was alive was this other guy who worked at the Tribune with them. And I can't think of his name, but throughout, when they were when he was testifying, and telling a story to court, the judge, the police, his story kept on changing. So a lot of people believe that he is the one that's responsible. But they haven't said, or they won't say or do anything because they don't know for sure.
I don't know. If I were, what's his name, Kent? If I were for his family, I'd want justice.
Yeah.
I want him to keep going. I don't care how long it takes.
Exactly.
That was my husband or my son, I'd be up in there, but still, that's crazy.
So something that I didn't see,
$11 million he got.
Something that I didn't say, but I'm about to show the trailer for Dream Killer, is that Ryan's dad literally spared no expenses. He got a car and vinyl wrapped it with the saying "Free Ryan Ferguson" with Ryan's face on it, and drove that all over the country. When Prosecutor Crane was giving a commencement speech, his dad bought a plane and flew. Some planes have the banner behind it, and a banner that said "Free Ryan Ferguson." Yeah.
And it just went by there. Oh my god.
Yep.
Yo. That's
his
wild.
dad literally did anything he could.
He did the most in a way.
Yes. What are you guys' thoughts? Come on, guys. Talk to us. Type in, text in, tell us what you think. We want to know.
There's definitely there's 4 viewers. What do y'all think?
Are you one of the 4? One of the 5?
I'm not including myself. Yeah, because I literally just opened it a couple times to see.
Okay, so there was no physical evidence to tie the other guy to the murder either, even if he did confess. Basically.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There was the fingerprints didn't match, the blood didn't match.
I think he's just doing it because he originally threw his friend under the bus, so now he's just trying to do the noble thing and take the blame for it. But I don't know. He should. That's crazy.
So
it was 21 years ago.
Exactly. So Ryan got put in at 19. He got out right before his 29th.
And when he's
so he's been, but the thing is when you're in jail, he missed out on a lot of the fun things. He missed out on seeing his best friends get married. His grandmother passed away while he was in jail. He didn't get to go to the funeral. You just miss so much as being a person that is wrongfully convicted. You don't get that opportunity to do anything. Now, it's really cool is if you guys ever get a chance, go listen to Prison Counts. It's him and another guy that he met while he was in prison. They're best friends to this day. They do a prison. They talk about people who have been in jail. They talk with people who are that have just gotten out of jail. Ryan's dad's on the podcast one episode. It's very interesting just to hear the different stories about how these people who spend so much time behind bars, how they cope with it. I am waiting on this thing to download so I can play you guys the.
I just looked it up. Looks really interesting.
So Charles is still in prison. Okay, so my mom asked, how can Charles still be in prison if the case is currently open? Because he pled guilty.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
He took the plea deal for regardless.
Yeah, he took the plea deal. So regardless, he's stuck in jail because he has to serve 25 years in prison. So it's it's very complicated. I by no means am a criminal justice major. So I don't know why he's still in there. But no, when you said this sounds so much like Making a Murderer, I went, oh my God, just hold up, Chrissy. You're about to hear, you're about to find out why that's so ironic that you said that.
The way you said the camera was, the first time he gave the testimony, the camera was off, and then they said, turn the camera on and tell it again. And then they told him to expand on it. That was what reminded me of Making a Murder when the younger nephew of the guy that was accused, they were manipulating him.
What's his name?
I forget the kid's name.
What's the guy's name who's in jail? Oh, Steve Avery.
Yes, and it was Brendan
Dassey.
Thank you. That was it.
So, I'm waiting for this thing to download. Once it's done downloading, I'm going to play the trailer for Dream Killer so everyone can see.
And that's the documentary?
That's the documentary. It's on Netflix. It's very... I will say this. Grab a tub of your favorite Ben & Jerry's ice cream or any type of ice cream and just sit there and watch it because it's very eye-opening. And you learn a lot. And next week, we're really going to hit on those topics. We're going to hit on the whole part about the criminal justice system, and we're going to talk more about some other wrongful convictions that have happened. We're not going to go into full detail about those convictions, but the very first time I heard Ryan's story, I fell in love with the story, and that's what a lot of people, that's what it's like with a lot of people. Once they hear his story, they're like, wow, can that really happen? And he has so many supporters all across the country, and and then he said the reason why he wanted to do The Amazing Race was because he wanted to make up for those 10 years with his lost time.
Yeah, that was his friend that got married while he was gone.
Yeah, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, so this downloaded. So let me.
And they're doing like so well. They're definitely like one of the front runners to win. I didn't finish last night.
Spoiler alert!
Sorry.
All right. So here is this trailer.
As if we needed it. Like, look at them compared to everyone else.
Here's this trailer. Let's see what you guys think.
And then I know the murderer.
Without warning, Ryan Ferguson strangled the victim to death.
I'm not involved in this in any way.
He had his foot on the victim's back, and he was pulling up on the belt.
I didn't know what I'd done that night. If it was memory or a dream.
Hello, this is
Ryan,
an inmate at the Boone County Jail.
Oh my God, how you doing?
As time went on, I realized that I needed to become proactive.
Some people say, oh my gosh, he's kind of gone around the bend. He'll never be okay until Ryan's out.
One day, one person said, I have some information I'd like to share with you. 100% that was not Ryan Ferguson.
He's not the guy.
There's 7 unidentified prints, and it excludes them. Most places never would have pursued the case. It's all about winning.
But protecting the verdict at any cost.
I know that a lot of people think, oh, this could never happen to me. Trust me, this could happen to you.
They can take your freedom. They can take you and put you in a cell with nothing. They can't take my mind. They can't take my body, no matter what.
Ooh, you're muted.
I'm definitely interested. Sorry, I keep having to mute because Kay's like being your
So guys, go check that out on Netflix. Check out Ryan's story, Ryan's podcast, Life After Prison Counts. It's all about, you need like it's.
Is this on YouTube or it looks like it's on Apple?
It's which one?
Prison Counts.
Prison Counts. It's on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast.
It has pretty good like reviews here, like high 4s.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So
very good job.
Thank you.
Every time you present these stories, I feel like I'm watching like Eleanor Neal or like a real like true crime podcaster, and I'm like intrigued.
So guys,
in my high noon, enjoying myself. I was just here today.
Because I originally told Chrissy, I said, if don't say anything while I do this story. And then I was like, you know what? No, if you have a question, speak up, because I think it's more entertaining when the person like interrupts and goes, hold on a second.
Hold on.
So guys, next week is another episode. This one is how do you spell convictions? Hold on, I'm writing this out. So yes.
Hey.
How do you spell discussions?
Not this. D-I-C. No, just kidding. D-I-S-C-U.
Oh, S-S-I-O-N-S. Okay.
Nice.
No, that's right. So next week is Wrongful Discussion Convictions Part 2 with the Difficult Discussions podcast. They're going to be on. We're going to talk about our criminal justice system, the highs, the lows, more wrongful conviction cases. And we're going to answer that question. Is our criminal justice system messed up? Because in our criminal justice system, you are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But you're actually, in the real criminal justice system, you're guilty until proven innocent. And even then, you're not actually fully innocent in their eyes. So, guys, let's do it one more time. Follow, hit that subscribe button.
Right by my face.
Right by Chrissy's face. If you guys want to be notified of when we're on, we have more interesting shows coming up. So that's going to be interesting. Something that I have coming up, which is brand new, which we're going to talk about right now because I totally forgot about it. Guys, this is a little sneak peek of a new show that we are doing every second Thursday of the month. It is called Unedited Movie Review with myself, Chrissy, and our friend Kevin. This was just a mock photo. So, what I want you guys to do.
Look at Kevin with all his movies right behind his head.
Exactly.
That's so Kevin.
What I want you guys to do is I want you to either message us on Instagram at CJ Unedited Podcast or email us at or email us at cjuneditedpodcast@gmail.com. I want you to send in your favorite movie. Again, your favorite movie. If you don't want to write this down, you can go to our link tree that's in our Instagram bio, find the email button that's on there, and send us an email. And send us your favorite movie. Because what we're going to do is we are going, next week at the end of the show, we're going to spin a wheel. And
always a damn wheel.
Always a wheel. Whatever movie that lands on, that is the movie that we are going to be reviewing the very first time with Kevin on March 7th.
Is that a Thursday?
I think
the 10th's a Thursday because I'm
March 10th.
I'm just getting back that night from Survivor 42 premiere, baby.
So, follow us. So send us your review, your movie. Wow, you really threw me off with the Survivor thing. Send us your movie so we can review it, as we have the opportunity to review it. Kevin is very knowledgeable with his movies. He's also very blunt with his movies, so he will tell you how he.
Kevin will be speaking very, very quickly and talking with his hands a lot and cursing a lot, but he's a really sweet kid.
We'll try to prevent him from cursing.
We love
guys.
Kevin.
Something that we do want to do, and we want to make it work, is if your movie is selected, we will be sending you the link to join us on this stream to talk about your movie. So, and quite possibly, we are going to be trying to do a call-in feature. We're going to try to get that set up by next week. If not, don't get mad at me. Also, be on the lookout for Survivor, the season 42 Survivor draft video, which will be coming out sometime soon. We only got a week and a half to do it, so we should be doing it quickly.
Let's go. I'm so
But most importantly, guys, follow us on social media. Follow Chrissy at.
Follow me if you haven't already at crosmac_4. You can also follow my insane dog who is unhappy with me right now at Kahlua_pup410. And I guess that's it, right? Yours.
Yeah, that's it. You guys can follow me at Jay Hanson. You guys can follow Ryan Ferguson. Follow Ryan Ferguson. Tell him that why you guys started. Tell him that you guys followed him because of our podcast. Maybe he'll come on if he gets enough people saying, "Hey, we heard about you from this podcast." We'll see.
That would be awesome.
Guys, like I said earlier, follow our Instagram at CJ Unedited Podcast. Follow our link tree. In our link tree is our merch. If you guys want to have a hoodie or sweater like every single person that was in our opening video tonight, they all got hoodies and sweatshirts. They bought them. So why don't you guys buy them too? Thank you so much to Sherry for making those. Everyone looks so good in them. Can we talk about that opening real quick?
Yeah.
Like, that opening, though, was fantastic.
We saw Jackson wearing red. What up, Jackson? My friend.
Guys, we will be back next week once again with the Wrongful, the Difficult Discussions podcast, just to talk more about the criminal justice system. But until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and remember to live your life 100% unedited. We are great to be back. Good night.
Good night.